After I had seen it, like I said, I was in complete shock, and so I was drinking. That's the first time since college probably that I got drunk. I don't drink because of a choice, not because I was alcoholic and quit drinking or anything like that. But that night I made the the very cognitive choice to get rip roaring drunk because my nerves were completely shot. My mind was racing. I didn't know what I was had had seen. My brain kept trying to come up with any kind of explanation other than werewolf on what I'd seen. And I don't know. Since then, I heard a lot of stories about the Ute Indian tribes talking about skinwalkers and these men who kill someone in their family to gain the power to become this amalgamation of man and different kinds of animals. And I don't know, that one kind of stuck with me along with the werewolf mythos long before I ever knew anything about dogmen. And I didn't know anything about any of that stuff that night. And my mind just kept trying to make sense of what I had seen. I couldn't say anything because I couldn't make sense of it. I just had no idea what I had actually seen other than it was a werewolf. I mean, it was a full moon night. The whole shebang, werewolf. Everything screamed werewolf to me, and everything about this creature just exuded pure evil, and it was unnatural. Like when I saw Bigfoot off in the distance, I mean, I got a similar feeling of like this kind of shocked feeling because you hear stories about it, but when you see something like that out in the woods, it's shocking. But this was completely different. That felt natural. When I saw that creature, it felt like it was supposed to be there. It was natural. This creature seems so out of place. It didn't seem like it should have been there. It was unnatural. It was supernatural, is the best explanation I can give, I guess. And everybody who knew me was just asking me question after question. What's wrong? What's wrong? And I literally couldn't tell them because I just in my mind I was thinking if I told you what I saw, you would never talk to me again because you would think I was crazy. And it kind of turns out that a few of the people at the wedding who lived in the area had actually seen a similar creature before. Not 10 feet tall, but they'd seen like smaller versions. And it makes me wonder, are there enough of these creatures that there's a kind of a biodiversity like within like the wolf and dog community? Maybe they have different personalities or something like that. And this one was just one that happened to be on the aggressive scale, kind of like a cane corso versus like a poodle. They're both dogs, but they're leaps and bounds apart from each other. And man, there's nothing that I've ever seen that's as evil or geared towards killing as this thing was. And to this day, at night, I still have PTSD about it, worse than anything that ever happened to me in the military. I When I dream about it at night, I wake up in a cold sweat, and a couple times in the beginning, I even woke up screaming. Um, but over the course of the decade since, in between there, I don't know, I feel a little bit blessed that I was able to see this thing. I survived. I didn't get hurt or anything, but my mind is a curious mind, and to be able to have the knowledge that something like that actually exists beyond the shadow of any doubt in my mind is kind of a gift that keeps on giving because every time I'm out in the wilderness or the woods, I'm a whole lot more aware of my surroundings. I hear the faintest sounds, the smells are more poignant to me, the sights are more poignant to me. I'm much more observant on every level now that I'm out into the forest. And that level of awareness has allowed me to see a lot more things in the forest that I hadn't seen up until that point. And I've never seen anything like that before or since, though, thank God. And man, I would really love to catch this thing on camera just to prove to everyone else, because I don't need to prove anything to myself. I saw what I saw, and there's no explanation other than seeing what I saw. And what I saw was pretty much a 10-foot black werewolf with red glowing eyes and 6-inch claws that could kill you in an instant. And I mean, that's all I can really say about it. There's literally no explanation whatsoever that could persuade me otherwise. No amount of expert testimony could trying to convince me that I saw something different could convince me that I saw anything different than a werewolf.
That's fascinating, Philip. I've never been able to see anything, but I heard something one night, and it was howling. It was breaking trees, and then we were at a bonfire at my cousin's house, and we I was just started teasing people. It was Dog Man. I didn't really believe in Dog Man at that time. I just thought it was something I'd heard about, and I was kind of teasing them. But that thing just kept getting closer and closer and closer and howling. And it was not like a coyote, which is popular, common in my area of Kentucky near the Daniel Boone National Forest, Lake Cumberland area. But this thing was howling and pushing over trees, like trees were being pushed over, like not live trees, but like dead trees. We could hear it pushing and hear them falling in the woods around around their house. They started having goats being slaughtered. Their dogs all got slaughtered. Looked like a big cat or something just shredded them or ripped them in two. And and I'm talking about outside dogs. And then when they finally just decided it's time to move, their inside dog, Bean, got killed. Now that night, Bean climbed underneath my chair while this thing was going on, and my neighbor thought, I mean, my cousin thought it was her neighbor that was just playing noises and trying to scare us. But there's no way that they could have been pushing over trees. And when the trees started falling, everybody decided, well, it's time to go. And everybody packed up and left. Of course, I was egging them on. I was like, oh, it's Dog Man. He's coming to get us, just being a fool, just carrying on. But now I wonder what the heck was that, pushing over trees, because they had howling cattle and goats. They didn't have like you know, a big 300-pound bull that could, or 300, a big 3,000-pound bull that could go up and rub against a dead standing pine tree and push it over. Or, well, there's a lot of ash there too, where we had those ash blowers. But there was nothing like that big enough that on their farm that could push something over. I don't even know that a 200 or 300 pound black bear could do something like that or not. But there's nothing bigger than that
Well,
supposedly.
the thing that I saw could have spear chucked a full size tree, no problem, ripped it out of the ground and threw it. I mean, I used to have a picture of the footprint that was on the side of the road went back in 2011. Unfortunately, it was on one of my computer hard drives that crashed, and I've never been able to recover it. But it what looked like a really big dog print, but with more pads, like 5 pads instead of like 3 that a dog has.
Mm-hmm.
It had one in the back, and then it had like a heel impression on the back, and that thing was well over twice the length of my foot. And I got a good picture of it, and I had sent it to like one of those cryptid shows a while back. I can't remember which one it was at this time, but I'm sure my emails still have it somewhere. But I had a good picture of that, and then I had a good picture of the elk that it ripped in half. I'm not sure that it ripped it in half because I didn't see that happen. But I think what happened is it ripped that elk in half in the middle of the road and was in the middle of feeding on the back half when I pulled off into the pull out there. And I think it was like there's a bush, and it's the only bush in the whole area that was on the side there at the time. And I think it was in the bush, like just watching me. I don't know. I don't know how I made it out of that situation, but I feel really lucky to have made it out of that situation. Because I guarantee it would have just shrugged off my 357 slugs, and they were hollow point. It would have just laughed. And I think it actually would have laughed like a human. I mean, I think I think you contacted me on a like the paranormal chicks like post or something like that, where they were talking about this is the howl of Bigfoot or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it was one of
And,
them.
and what I heard that night sounded exactly like what was on that video. It sounded like a man screaming and a bear roaring at the same time. It was very distinct. It was not like, although it sounded bear like, I just compare it to that because that's the loudest roar I've ever heard and the rumbling in your chest type thing. But it was much deeper than any bear that I've ever heard. And the sound of it was so audibly low that the frequency must have been way down in the low registers. And it was just terrifying, hair raising sound. And I've never heard anything like it, completely like it. I mean, like I said, the closest thing I can think of is like a lion roar or a bear roar, like a grizzly, a big grizzly roaring. Doesn't even compare to what I heard. And the size of the body mass of this thing, man, it was just way larger than the grizzly. I estimate that that thing was easily around 2,000 pounds of just pure muscle and sinew. And I'm objectively, it was a gorgeous creature, though. I mean, the way that its fur like shined in the light and the way that the claws glistened and everything, it was just mesmerizing. The eyes, the glow of the eyes were just captivating. I mean, I couldn't look away. It was like I was being hypnotized by a snake or something. I literally could not move for at least a minute after seeing this thing. And I don't know if that was from fear or if that was some kind of thing that it can do to you. I don't know. But I have never been paralyzed by fear in my life by anything. I before that time I feared no man or no creature on this planet. But after that, I definitely would be scared shitless if I ever saw anything like that again. Excuse my French, but that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. You didn't go into it tonight, but you mentioned it on Vic's show, Dogman Encounters. What number was that? 498 was the episode that you
Yep,
were on? Yeah.
498, I believe. Yeah.
Is he has a great show, man. Much respect for him. But you said something about when he was looking at you, he was bobbing his head in
Oh
a
yeah, I forgot about that.
in a
There's this figure eight motion.
yes, and that
It was
reminds
kind
me.
of, it was really mesmerizing. Everything about this creature was mesmerizing, and it was doing this like bobbing and weaving, kind of like a boxer does, you know?
Or a
Like
cobra.
it was psych. What I read in that body language was like it was psyching itself up to attack. Everything about what its body language was all about attack, and I don't know to this day how I stayed there as long as I did. But thank God I snapped out of that stupor because man, if that thing was so big that if it would have got one hand on that van, there's no doubt in my mind that it could have flipped us right over the edge of that thing with very little effort.
And
It could
there,
have flipped us right over the cliff. Whole car, all the people in there and everything. I think it could have probably done it with one arm.
there's two other shows. I don't know if you've heard about, or but one was on Vic's show, and he was a mayor down in Tennessee. That's not far from me. And he was talking about, he didn't even give his real name because he didn't want nobody knowing who he was because he was a mayor or whatever in politics. But when he was younger, he was on his way to court a girl or something, his wife maybe, uh, and he had a like a sports car, like an old time sports car, like a muscle car, like a Camaro or something. I can't remember. He told what it was, GTO or whatever. But anyway, he had to slow down in a curb, and one of those things come out and was running along beside of it. And he didn't describe it as dog man either. He described it as a werewolf. And I don't know if you've heard his story or not. And
I
I
think
can't
I
remember what.
have actually.
Yeah, and he describes that thing running down the road and looking in the window at him. You know,
Yeah.
and he had to just step on it and just luckily got away. And it like left scratches all the way down the car. They had to have it
Ugh.
painted, and it was just that's his story. And I don't know, but that it really sounds it
I think I
sounds
have.
like
I saw
yours.
that on YouTube when I was researching. I came across the term dogman and it just kind of sent me down a rabbit hole, which is what sent me to Vic in the first place. And I hadn't told anybody other than my wife about that whole incident just because it's so far out there in the realm of believability. And I wouldn't blame anybody that would tell me that I'm crazy, but man, I saw, smelled, and heard that thing at real close range. Like closer than the wall to my room right now is how close that thing was.
Yeah.
And man, what a what a creature that thing was. Just there's nothing that can compare to the deadly presence of that thing in my mind that I could ever even conceive of. Even the werewolves on movies pale in comparison to what this thing was.
I've done, when you was telling me about that, I looked up the picture that a buddy of mine was talking about that they had shot that. Looks like we're going to end in 10 minutes. We'll have to start another one if you're able to.
Yeah, I'm fine.
But he said that I showed you that picture. I'll see if I can pull it up
Yeah, that
now.
was an interesting picture.
Yeah.
The
Uh,
face, I mean, the color and everything wasn't even close to the black that I saw, but the ears, other than not having tufts on the end, and the face were real close to what I saw. And the teeth were way smaller than what I saw, though. The teeth hung out a good. Yeah, I saw that one. You
yeah.
sent it to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
the teeth when its muzzle was closed hung out underneath its chin, probably about 4 inches. And then when it bared its fangs and it was growling at me, those teeth were easily 8 inches long and just thin, and needle sharp,
Yeah.
like a hypodermic needle.
Like like what you see on a dragon or something is what I'm
Yeah,
picturing.
like a movie dragon or something
Yeah.
like that. That's what it reminded me of. I mean, the way that the smaller teeth were pointed and curved back totally reminded me of like a movie dragon, and it totally reptilian looking, not canine looking at all. As you know, canine teeth, they have kind of not molars per se, but they have the chewing teeth, and they didn't look. This thing didn't look like it had any chewing teeth. It looked like it just gulped stuff down full, like
Like
gone.
straight
And it's
canines.
yeah, it was just sharp teeth all the way. It looked like if you got into that thing's mouth, you weren't coming out.
Right. Coyote has two canines, two
Yeah,
fangs.
so the wolves don't have. I mean, the two big
They
front
just have,
fangs.
yeah, they just have the two
And then they
big
got like
canines.
four little or four sharp teeth in between the canines, and then
Yeah.
goes back into more of the. They're kind of pointed, but they're not pointed like what I saw. These things were
Right.
all like razor sharp needles, like hypodermic needles pointed backwards, and they were so reptilian looking. And I've never seen. I've seen animals with eye shine that was red, but not like this. I mean, they were glowing, like glowing red, and like flashlights almost, like looking at you. And a lot of people would say things like, "Oh, maybe you saw some dude in a suit or something like that," but there's not any dudes that are 10 feet tall that can run 55 miles an hour.
No, no. That brings back to the Douglas burglar. Is that his name? The guy who supposedly killed one with a he shot it. It was trying to get in a semi going down the road about 45 miles an hour.
I'd seen that one
And
on
he
YouTube
shot
as
it
well.
point blank in the head. Excuse
Isn't
me.
that the one where the military came and like debriefed him?
Yeah, said he killed an asset, supposedly. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But that's what he said. They killed their asset.
Yeah, I heard a lot of stories about things like that in the military, but I just kind of laughed it off. But that experience I had sure does make me think. I don't know. I don't know the origin of this thing, and I don't. I don't really care to know, to be honest. I just know that it exists,
Right.
and it does not seem like something that can be controlled at all. It is a force of nature that I don't think anyone can control it. I definitely do not think anyone can control what I saw. I don't see it having handlers. That's for damn sure.
What do you think about these guys that go out looking for these things that want to kill one? And I would if I thought I could, I would. You know.
I'm a pretty capable guy. I've been around many different kinds of weapon systems. I'm expert in all kinds of different weapons, and there's no way in hell. I've been a hunter my whole life. There's no way in hell I would go out looking for this thing. I would love to see it on like a game camera or something, or from a drone, but up that close ever again? Hell no. Nope. No. Nope.
There are
If
some.
I'll tell you right now, any of those guys that are talking smack about going and hunting one of these things down, they ain't never seen one.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you they would definitely rethink their thinking real quick if they did. Because this thing ain't playing around.
Right. I told you the story of my buddy when they were in Afghanistan and one of those Afghanistan hounds or whatever they are, half hyena, half wolf, Afghanistan wolf, whatever they call them, broke perimeter on their base, and they sent out a 4-man team to go take care of it. Well, to investigate and see what it was. When they found it, it was like jumping from rooftop to rooftop on however whatever it is that the military sets at their bases. I do not know. And
Barracks and stuff.
yeah, and
I believe it. I believe it took a 50 caliber round and laughed it off.
yeah,
I mean,
this
I have
this thing
friends that
did.
were in Afghanistan and Iraq that in both places, I've had different people describe to me a hyena man. It's interesting to note that in that area there's stories like uh, dog-headed creatures all the way up into Egypt and stuff like that though too. And it kind of jives with all the Native American stories about skinwalkers and stuff like that in the area, because their stories are way older than the trapper stories about seeing wolf-like creatures in the area. And who knows, man? Maybe there's a whole bunch of these things that we just don't know about, and maybe that's a comforting thing. They don't want to have nothing to do with us, maybe, because this thing was definitely pissed off that I had seen it. That's for sure. But it also, at the same time of being pissed off at me seeing it, decided that it was a great idea to show itself fully to me. and to set aside all questions about what I had seen. Like it was kind of prideful, that it could
Right.
scare the crap out of me.
I
And
know
that's
there's
not an animal emotion.
no, that's a rational thinking. Yeah.
That's why I thought my mind went straight to werewolf, because this thing was very human like in its mannerisms and the way that it looked at you and the intelligence in its eyes. It was not your run of the mill predator out of the woods that was just looking to kill something to eat for dinner type of situation. It was definitely a thinking creature, calculating creature.
A lot of people, okay, well, you can look this up on Google if you want, but they'll say that there's no such thing as a Black Panther. But all my life I've seen, uh, you know, there's always been, like the gang Black Panther or whatever. And then there's the fireworks Black Panther. And all my life I've heard of Black Panthers. But if you Google it, there's no such thing as a Black Panther. I have seen them here in this area down around Lake Cumberland, and many people in my area have all seen Black Panthers, even got them on trail cams.
My dad grew up in Clarksville, Indiana, just up from you, not very far, actually, right across the river from Kentucky, I guess. Um, and he said that he'd seen Black Panthers running around there
Yeah,
when he was a kid, when he was
they
out
do.
camping, and not like those jaguars out in the forest, that are. He said that they were much larger, like lion sized, rather than panther sized, like rainforest panthers. He said it was way bigger than a panther,
Yeah. Well,
way
I've
bigger
seen
than a
those
mountain
too.
lion, and black,
And black,
pitch black.
solid black.
Yep,
And tail as long as the body. I,
yep. That's exactly how he described it, pretty much.
okay,
Real fast too. He said they were real fast.
I'll tell you my story when I come back. We're fixing to lose this segment. Uh, be right back, Philip.
All right.
Thank you.